Hey everybody, it's SaskiaSketches, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I fill a sketchbook page. So the way I would usually do this is I would plan out the page a little bit up front. So in today's episode I thought I'd be drawing some Skylanders because I didn't know what to draw for a long time, but then I saw this on my desk and I thought, hey, let's just draw some Skylanders because why not? So so the way that I do so there are a few ways I like to go about doing these kind of sketchbook pages, and the ones that I like best always have two things in common: consistency and contrast. If you can make those two work together in an illustration or in a sketchbook page, you will have a much better result. Because this page, for example, I like this one, and it has enough contrast. It has enough contrast to it so the individual sketches stand out, but it also has enough consistency so all the sketches look like they belong together. And that's basically how I would do it. So I also like to focus on composition quite a bit. So mainly I just think about where I want to put certain sketches. And for this particular page, I already had an idea in mind of all the things that I wanted to sketch. So I wanted to sketch the life Skylanders, or at least the ones that I like. So I looked up a bunch of reference images, which I am referencing as I am sketching this stuff out. But here I'm just mostly doing the rough just doing the rough you know, basic shapes of where I want the things to be. Sometimes I don't, usually I don't really sketch all of this out first, but I find it helpful if you already have an idea of how many sketches you want to put on that page. So yeah, I'll put a few examples up on screen of the sketchbook pages that I really liked out of some previous sketchbooks, so you can see what I mean. And you will see that I'm applying most, if not all, of the tips that I am showing you in this video in all these sketches slash sketchbook pages that I'm showing you at the moment. Okay, so now that I've gotten most of the composition down, I will explain how I you know, position these sketches and how I make them look nice and cohesive already, even though I haven't even, you know, started to refine or color them yet. The way I do that is by positioning them outward. So if you look at these sketches, once they're refined, you'll see it a bit better, but they're all facing this way, that way. And that's because the spine of the book is here. So you'll see that with these sketches too. I have all these sketches facing that way. So you can see the owl faces this way, the otter faces that way, the unicorn all facing this way. And that makes the sketchbook look, at least the page makes it look more cohesive, and throughout the sketchbook you'll notice that it gives that illusion that the sketches are jumping off of the page, which I'm really a fan of. I quite like the way that looks. So here I'm just going to sketch out the details a little bit more, make the sketch a bit more refined, and then I will go over, because this is a watercolor pencil, I think, maybe not, maybe I put it in the wrong jar. I think I did that. It's not a watercolor pencil, but that doesn't matter. So whilst I'm refining this, I'm still kind of keeping it loose because I want to go over with some line art too, or more of a sketchy line art, not really very much refined. I just want to go over with a ballpoint pen because I usually really like to sketch in a ballpoint pen, and I really like the way that works with watercolors, which I also wanted to use, or at least a water soluble medium. So I'm just putting everything where it kind of should be without focusing too much on getting every detail right and stuff, and just I can add those in during the line art / second or third sketch layer phase, because my first sketch layer phase is this, all the rough shapes and stuff, and this is more of the second sketch layer. Usually I refine the second sketch layer a little bit more when I'm doing actual line art, but right now I'm kind of doing a third I'll be doing a third sketch layer later on. So yeah. So those are very important, planning out your pieces and kind of, you know, positioning them in a way that it makes sense and that it works together. And another way to keep that consistency throughout is by using the same media throughout for all the sketches. So, you know, on this page you'll see that I've only used fine liners, and on this page I'll be using this green colored pencil, this ballpoint pen, and this I think it was called a Karen brush marker. I got this in a scroller box, and this one is water soluble, so we'll have some fun with that later on. Yeah, so by keeping the supplies and the colors consistent throughout the page, gives that illusion of you know, that the sketches really belong together and stuff. That really helps to establish that if you do it that way. And, you know, even though Tree Rex and all of the other Skylanders have a different color scheme than just green, you can just color everything in green, because you know, it's kind of boring to always use the same you know, natural colors, the way things were intended to be, or the way things are. I find it fun to, you know, switch it up a little bit and not be so restricted by what the natural colors of something are. What the most important thing to focus on is the values, of course. So if you have the values correct, it doesn't really matter what color you're using, because, you know, all colors are going to be all colors are going to look a little bit different in different lighting anyway. I was never really a fan of the new stuff where they made Bowser into a Skylander, and I think they even did Crash Bandicoot as well, because Nintendo bought it probably, and that's why we have that abomination. It's not even that I don't like Bowser or something, because I really do. Bowser is my favourite Mario character, but to make him a Skylander, it just feels so out of place and so like they're selling out and stuff, and that just makes me sad, because I used to love the Skylander games so much when I was little. Such a big fan. Gotta do Kamo first. I was always such a big fan, and I loved playing Skylanders when I was younger, and I still do. That's why I'm drawing them. But yeah, I mean, just so I find it so sad that new games are so, they feel so much like they're just selling out and stuff, and that just makes me sad. Because I love the old Skylanders, I love the old designs and stuff. I was such a big fan of the dragons when I was little. I loved Kamo and I loved Spyro and Cinder and Whirlwind and everybody else. I never grew up playing the other Spyro games, and I've heard that people really aren't a fan of the redesign they did for Skylanders, but you know, I have a lot of nostalgia for the Spyro's Adventure games, so I really like Spyro's design actually. So this is already a lot of fun, just drawing these Skylander characters, because I used to draw them non-stop when I was little. Now that I actually can draw, they look a lot better. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's the sketch. Or the... I don't know what you'd call it even. Second sketch layer. That's probably it. Just go over my black. Come on. There we go. Okay, so now I just kind of want to go extra ham on the detail. You know, add in any extra stuff. Just get a feel on how they were designed. So the line art process is part of the contrast part, because if you look at this, it just looks like a big blob of green, right? So the line art is going to help separate them, because now they look, because you need both contrast and consistency, because if you have only contrast, the sketches won't look like they belong together, but if you have only consistency, you won't have any separation between the sketches at all, and that way you won't really have that nice page that you're looking for. So what I like to do to add contrast is add a thicker outline around the edges, so it stands out more from the others. That's what I did with this page too. And see, I'm just sketching, I'm not really focusing on making good, beautiful, bold, good, beautiful line art. I'm just, you know, making sure it looks right. And most importantly, yeah, having fun with it. I really like this fist. Yay! It's not even a fist, it's a hand. And don't be afraid to make the sketches overlap. Probably saying that a little bit too late, because you can already see I've already done that. But if you make the sketches overlap, it will make them look like they're more part of the same image. You can already start thinking about your values a little bit, sketching them in. Okay, so I just finished these sketches off camera because, you know, it's basically the same principle. I just, you know, added more detail and thickened the outlines. But now I wanted to share with you how I finished this page because it looks pretty good right now, but it still has, you know, it doesn't have as much contrast as you want it to. It still looks like it's kind of, you know, the same part of the same you know, drawing, but you can't really see that this is an individual sketch and that's an individual sketch and stuff. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go in with this brush marker, and I scribbled a little bit on this plate, or this on this porcelain plate thingy, and I'm adding some water to it, so I'm diluting it, and I'm just going to go in and add some colour to this. And while I do that, I pay attention to the values most of all, because the values, that's what's going to separate this. So I'm going to go in with a very light wash to colour in the lightest areas, and then I'm going to build up the darker, and then I'm going to build up the darker tones as I go along. And the trick here is to only use one colour, like I said, so I'm only using this green, because that'll make it look more cohesive. So right now it may still look a little bit muddy, or a little bit unclear what is what and where is what, but once you start to build up the tones more, you'll see what I'm talking about. So then with this colour, just go in and do the midtones, and you can also shade the lighter tones with this colour. And you can do this with basically any art supply. You can do this with paints, you can do this with markers. As long as you know, use the same concept, it will work fine. And once I start to build up the tones, you'll see how that separates all these sketches from each other. So now after this, we're going to go in with the pure brush marker, and now we're going to actually separate these sketches a bit. Now we're going to actually separate these sketches from each other. And you can do that through shading too. Just going to blend these out whenever I need to. Like here, for example. See, so when you're doing this, you really start to see the separation between the different sketches. So I'm just going in and really emphasizing that black outline again. You also have to be careful not to overdo it. Only add it in the places where it really needs it. Alright. So there you go. That's how I do these kind of sketchbook pages. I really like how this one came out. I'm going to date it. And there you go. That's when this video is filmed. It's not the day where it comes out, but yeah, okay. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more art videos every Friday. Have a great weekend, guys. Keep on sketching. Bye.